We're back.
Hi, everyone. We are back. So, I'm going to wait a few
Well,
minutes.
also, if you're just joining us, we've just aired part one of this broadcast, Mexican Crossing Lines, October 1st, 2018, Disaster Vultures. Now we're on to, we're producing the last part of the show. And if you left part one, you're joining us now. That's great. For some reason you didn't see part one, you're joining us now. You can do it that way, but then go back and watch part one. Watch the beginning of the whole broadcast. It was about 3 hours long. And we're just getting into the last hour of the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a little time for the people to join us, and then we're going to get rolling.
Yes. And if you will recall, on part one of this Disaster Vultures, talking about the hearings of Brett Kavanaugh and the disparate difference in which he and Dr. Ford were treated, and the difference in which the victims of sexual assault are treated versus the accused, and why there is a rampant rape culture that we have been contending with, that we need to learn from and behave differently in the future to improve. Because we also need to find more ways of making real crime and punishment out of violent sexual assault. That has to happen. That is part of how we show victims and survivors that we believe them, by taking rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment in the workplace seriously and responding with action, not with empty words. Not with empty sympathy that doesn't actually try to make amends in some way for what was done, what has been done to women. And they also talked about the importance of holding people accountable, especially those who want to rebrand themselves without ever being held accountable for what they've already done. With that in mind, I want to share the following information about the audio and the person that you are about to hear, Victoria Dargan. She is a former local native to the Fargo-Moorhead area. She used to live here for a long time. She has many friends that still live in this area. And she moved away to Florida. Her son was Jameson Dargan. He was the last man standing at Standing Rock. You may recall, I called him the last white man standing at Standing
exactly.
Rock. And, he went on to hang out with Tim Schwartz and Doug McLean, one of the people that was promoting a lot of these Standing Rock phonies all over the country and all over the world.
Yeah.
And the Tim Schwartz was the band exit guy, and both of these people are mentioned in the phone call that you're about to hear, as is Jana Stone, who at the time I did not know yet, but she did. So she talks about Jana Stone, the woman I just showed you with Catalina Tiamson, the partner in business to Jonathan Fritzler of the Aloha Movement Project, that is umbrellaing the only 501c3 that could possibly be held responsible and audited in some way for their part in the associations that they have with all of these folks. And in addition, she talks about, I think, Renegade Media, and her son's association with them. So you're going to hear a lot of that coming up here in a minute. But first, I want to show you that message I sent her the first time I contacted her to warn her about Ed Higgins, the person she was going to host in her Florida home during Hurricane Irma, and along with Mona Cedillo and others. Here's the post, or the message I sent her. I said, "Hey, Victoria, I wanted to warn you about Ed Higgins and crew. Ed is a dangerous person. He's been raising money for a defunct platform called Activate Now. And according to Wes Clark Jr., he's an informant for Tiger Swan. Well, we now know that he's an informant for the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, and was working with Maggie Day and Wes Clark and Francis Fisher and all of the Illuminati glitterati that were funding and supporting this action that they did out at Standing Rock. And he wanted to throw the scent off of Ed and throw it onto Tiger Swan, because everyone was saying Tiger Swan, Tiger Swan, Tiger Swan, Tiger Swan. By the way, remember that from the first scene, that Talib Kweli tweet that Josh tweeted at Talib Kweli?
Mm-hmm.
Could you find it really quick, or is that a lot to ask? I wanted to show you guys something. Talib Kweli. Yep, the second one, not the first. And go all the way to the bottom. All the way, all the way, all the way. Because we missed something. No, it was the other one then. The next one. Yes. Okay, so this is the thread where they're talking to Lakota Law Project, right?
Yeah.
And that person that replied thumbs up to Josh is the head of Tiger Swan, Jim Reese.
Oh, yes.
And he's responding on this thread like he's watching what this conversation is about, which involves the Lakota Law Project and Chase Iron Eyes, some of the many people who have been blaming all of their work, all of their crime, all of their corruption, all of their malfeasance, everything on Tiger Swan, when it's Wes Clark, Veterans Stand, and all of the people they were working with out there, including Bill Running Fisher and Mulaney Stoneman. Remember, they're the ones that put these folks up to this crime, along with Christina Hollenbeck. They were the ones that orchestrated the plan and carried it out. They were the ones that found and targeted Mary and Kathleen. So, Victoria, I was telling you, we left off at Tiger Swan, and then I went on to say to her, figured I should warn you, especially since one of the guests on my show was a woman who said Ed sexually assaulted her. Hope you are safe. And then I sent her the article in which Wes Clark was quoted as saying that Ed Higgins was associated with Tiger Swan. And then, and you know, I knew her son had been at Standing Rock. So I was like, okay, so don't care about that, huh? And then the next one says, she says back to me, I am safe. He got my son out of Sacred Stone. He meaning Ed Higgins. He got my son out of Sacred Stone. Okay? Remember who Veterans Respond was working with. Remember who Veterans Respond with. Tulsi Gabbard. Go back and watch The Gift of Gab. Go watch all my Veterans Respond 1, 2, and 3. Veterans Respond Beyond and something else. I can't remember now. Go back and watch. And in that video of Mona Cedillo, where she was in the restaurant having a last meal before they took off to Florida with Miko and Terrence and Monsivice, she was wearing a Veterans Respond hat. So these things are all interconnected. Shells on top of shells on top of shells. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
And so the person that helped to get her son out of Sacred Stone, because he stayed until the very last minute, was Ed Higgins. And he was also with the veterans groups. You're going to hear that in the call. She says, he and crew have been wonderful. She's talking about Terrence and Louis Monsivice and Ed and Mona. And in the call that you're about to hear, it doesn't sound like she had a great time with them. She said, I am aware of the rumors. He has been stand up as his crew. Females too. So defending him, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then she says, I'm returning a favor for help with my son. Thank you for your concern. So I thought, whoa, I guess she doesn't want to know. I saw her posting things like this. And this is what all of my friends also saw her posting. This is one of her pictures with Terrence Daniels there in the background, and Miko and Mona. There's that hat I was telling you about. You see the bear on it from Veterans Respond. And this is at a time when she was still dating Ed Higgins.
Mona's.
Right. And it says there, safe travels and blessings to this awesome motley crew I got to hurricane host. Now on their way to Fort Myers and Naples to volunteer and help with the cleanup for those in need in that hit area. So this is at the end. Okay?
Well, okay. Yeah.
At the end after the stay is over. Next, there is her with Ed Higgins. Look who came to save us, she says.
Wow.
Hashtag last man standing mom. So she is very proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says karma saves with Victoria Dargan Johnson. So she claims he got my son out. He saved my son. So now I'm going to save him while he's saving other people.
Yeah.
Yay! Karma saves. And then this next one, she is also with Ed Higgins at the Lido Key. There's a still of a video they did. She says, it's still, this is right before the hurricane hit. Still pretty calm here, but the water is definitely starting to move in a little. I have been blessed with the opportunity to house some friends. Came down to help volunteer for cleanup afterwards. He helped my son out last year, so it is such a privilege to be able to return some of the love and generosity to them. We will be hunkering Irma out at my concrete apartment. Prayers up. And there you see them hanging out on the beach. Those are some of the pictures. There was many more. I just wanted to give you an idea. Here she posted, and it wasn't just for the hurricane. Here's a post that she did on April 17, 2017, and it is in Spanish, and it says, Atención mis hermanas y hermanos de Venezuela. Attention, my brothers and sisters of Venezuela. Tengo amigos que buscan personas allí en Venezuela. I have friends who are seeking persons right there in Venezuela, en la lucha, in the fight, quienes pueden ayudar a reportar la verdad que está pasando, who can help to report on the truth of what is happening. Si usted está interesado o conoces a cuales están allí, if you're interested or know people that are there, al frente de la resistencia, at the forefront of the resistance, y quieren comunicar y poder compartir noticias, and you want to communicate and impart news, sin propaganda, que será compartido aquí via internet, without propaganda, that will be shared here via the internet and Facebook, y más, on Facebook and in other places. Por favor, comunica conmigo. Please communicate with me. O mi amigo, Activate Now, y Ed Higgins. Or my friend at Activate Now, Ed Higgins. Mi queridos, nuestra Venezuela siempre está en mi corazón. My dears, our Venezuela is always in my heart. You know the horrors. Venezuela, oramos por ti, we're with you. We pray for you. Peace in Venezuela. You know how terrible things were in Venezuela. And she is posting about helping Ed get to Venezuela.
Yeah, guess.
So I saw that it was more than just the thing, right? And then also Jameson Dargan, her son, posted this. The planet is dying and your only real job is protecting it however the best you can. Can you continue reading that, Henry?
Yep. However, the best you can. Nothing else doesn't matters if we fall. Sit down, write up ideas, and reach out to people you work with who will understand what is at stake. If they don't know, educate. If you don't know, ask for help and get educated. If you have an idea where you could best help, I bet I have a way for you to do so. Let's figure this out. There's a bunch of hashtags in there. End rape culture, empowerment of women, empowerment of indigenous, decolonize, healing mental health addiction, end drug war, divest Apple, invest green, on and on and on. So he is talking about empowerment of the indigenous
and he's a super white guy. You saw his
Yeah.
mom right there, decolonizing. It's not bad that he's talking about these things. It's just that, once again, it's really important that you know who you are working with and what those people have been doing, which is taking up resources that should be going to poor people and should be going to indigenous folks, and people of color, and women in need, the elderly, children, people with disabilities, not to the likes of people like Ed Higgins or Chelsea Lyons or Red Wolf Pope or Louis Monsivice or Terrence Daniels or Miko Hayes. None of those people, okay? And here's the... can you go back to that other one real quick? Let me read that. It says... scroll down even further there. Oh, so they're talking about new industries, grow clean energy. There was another one that he posted about rape culture and the Me Too movement too, which he tagged his mom on as well. And here is the next one. And Jameson tagged his mom right there, as you can see. And Ed Higgins and Tim Schwartz and Holyoke Lafferty and Tina Pugliese. And so, you know, at the time, I know she's not him, right? She's not her son. But at the time, I confronted her, I talked to her in these messages. I was telling her there are some very shady people associated with this guy. Let me show you another one of these shady people. Snooki Correa. Here's another person she's got associated with him. Ed Higgins, activate now, please. And what does she want him to activate her for? That's a big necklace. Love Water. Love Water? What's that? Why, let me tell you. It says, I am Snooki Correa, Executive Director, Chief Engineer, and Visionary Missionary from Love Water Foundation, and also SAR and PM with Driven, Disaster Relief International, Relief Nation, Hurricane Rescue and Relief for Puerto Rico 2017. We've made a term commitment to love, serve, and bring unity to those in need of disaster relief from Hurricane Maria. And I'm humbled and honored to have the opportunity to invite those of you who would be interested in participating in relief efforts to please contact me of your interest on how and some of the many ways you can join us. For example, ISO volunteers whom would like to serve as volunteers on a 1-month, 30-day rotation team basis across Puerto Rico and city and rural areas to provide such relief as water filtration, debris clearance, work crews, kitchen crews, health and hygiene supply and assistance, medical supply distribution, food distribution, mud out crews, tarp and roofing crews, comms and power supply crews, warehouse and supply crews, literacy, education, and much more. We together literally have an opportunity to pave the way for new inroads on Puerto Rico. I find this terrifying.
Yeah.
New inroads in Puerto Rico. That's the part that I find terrifying about these disaster vultures and what they're going to do to the people of Puerto Rico, many of whom have had to flee permanently because there's still not power in Puerto Rico. Like, they still haven't rebuilt anything to the way that it should be getting rebuilt. And I think that they're doing that to drive the people out, and they're going to replace them with disaster vultures and investment capitalists and impact capitalists like Marianne Thompson Frank and her pals and the Hollywood people associated with this, and the vets and all of these other folks. They get to travel around for free, even though many of them have criminal backgrounds that are dangerous to vulnerable populations, and pretend to be heroes of the Everyday Hero Project or the Aloha Movement or this new thing. Can you put that up again so I can tell you some of the stuff they're doing here? They're looking to recruit 350 people. And I'm assuming they're going to fly all these people out to Puerto Rico.
Yep.
Accept registered and vetted volunteers receive paid RT airfare from Miami to Puerto Rico, food, accommodations, Team Island transportation where applicable, and relief volunteer t-shirts. Wow. Sounds great, doesn't it?
T-shirts, yep.
When have you heard of anything like this? When have you heard of this disaster this is like disaster glamping
Yep,
for rich entitled, bored, pretend Indians and, sold out ones to, I don't know, get their yayas off. It didn't seem like they're actually helping
vacation.
people.
Well, they set it up with the earlier things. They give some people a bucket and go downtown and give them some beers and say they're a cleanup crew.
Well, let's go to the next one. I want to show you who else is associated with this. This is a donation drive for the Everyday Hero Project for their Puerto Rico donation drive, okay? And if you look down there, they've got the Human Family Coalition, One Human Family Coalition. There's another one of these groups. We'll show you more about who's on that One Human Family Coalition later. For now, just put a pin in that.
All right.
But they're going to volunteer power and donations for an event in the municipality of Quebradillas, Puerto Rico. This is the second Activate tour in Puerto Rico. The first Activate tour in Puerto Rico, by the way, included none other than Aubrey Peckham of Activate Now and Chelsea Lyons, former Truth Against the Machine, former Real Progressives with Ed Higgins, also worked on Activate Now platform, and was one of his sexual partners prior to Jordan Sheridan being her partner. But I digress. And it goes on to say that they're collecting donations for all sorts of supplies and medical stuff, okay? And then down there they have participating sponsors will receive. So the events are including a haircutting station, a massage station, trauma therapy with a licensed trauma therapist, really like Dee Banerjee, that who knows if she's really even licensed as a nurse, or currently licensed, or like the medic Mulaney, who's not a medic, or like the Mulaney Christina Hollenbeck, that's not a medic either, or is it like the trauma healer Faith Spotted Eagle, or is it like the, which is it? Because there's a lot of phonies out there. And guess what else they've got, Duke? Face painting and a clown show. Well, that last one I am sure is true.
Yeah.
All of this is like a big giant clown show.
Yep.
Next.
Well, actually, one little thing on the end of that slide is that participating sponsors receive a 501c3 tax donation receipt, the nonprofit tax ID, and they put their EIN number on there at 27-3526444. Everyday Hero Project, parentheses, trade name of Aloha Movement Project. So they're already saying it's going to be funneled into one of the trade names, and it's going to get a receipt, but it's not necessarily who you're paying the money to.
It's all going in Jonathan Fritzler and Catalina's pockets, in other words.
Yeah.
And it can be funneled to Ed or to anybody else that they're working with. Guess who else is involved in the Puerto Rico effort, kids? Why, it's none other than Victory Longquist.
Yep.
One of those people that was working directly with Wes Clark Jr., who he named. And who is she putting in this picture? To coordinate for Puerto Rico? Well, it's none other than Bill Runningfisher, kids. And who's the admin and the moderator for this group? It's Victory Longquist. That's the man who he impersonated a marshal, kidnapped a woman, assaulted Kathleen Bennett to keep her from getting into the ambulance, and helped in the kidnapping of an elder who was left to die in a hospital that was then guardianshiped by Mulaney Stoneman, the other kidnapper. That's who she's putting in the picture from the Standing Rock. I don't know how you can even associate that photo with Standing Rock unless you know that this is Bill Runningfisher and that's a veteran from Standing Rock, because otherwise there's nothing to even indicate that this has anything to do with Standing Rock.
Yeah.
Why are they using this photo?
Good question.
I think I know why, honey.
Why is that?
I think it's because they're not ashamed of their crime. They're just blatantly putting it out there. Just like Mulaney Stoneman is not ashamed of her crime because nobody held them accountable, you see?
Yeah.
And Victory Longquist if you go back to the prior one where she is talking about going to Puerto Rico, I just wanted to show you that's Bill Running Fisher. But she says, "Hey y'all, this is a group I put together for coordinating relief efforts in Puerto Rico. I'm terrible at tagging and adding people. Please feel free to join and share. Add the movers and shakers." And I can just imagine who the movers and shakers are she's referring to.
Yeah.
Here's another one. The November one. November. Created. That's your mouse stuck or something?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to move on these.
So this one says she got nearly 100 water filters to teams in Puerto Rico, and she just shipped 55-gallon buckets that were pre-drilled for 3 water filters. Each filter makes over 700 gallons of fresh water. She also sent $100 in cash and a care package to her crew with Do Tierra Oils ashwagandha tinctures. Here it comes, the holistic medicine. St. John's wort.
Mm-hmm.
Is Linda Black Elk going to go out there and help people? By the way, she has been this entire time touting herself as having a PhD. She also is lying about that. I don't know why you would lie about that, because you could just say, I'm going to get one. I don't have one yet. But I think that it's disingenuous when you run around saying, I'm a medic, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, and you're not those things.
Yeah.
You just give yourself some kind of title, and it's not right. Looking for a medical people in Seattle area in the West Coast who would like to go volunteer in a clinic in Puerto Rico. A group of us will be traveling there in November to help. 70% of this entire country is still without power. Please consider helping. And the next one shows Victory talking about in October. So this is before the November one that you just saw.
Yeah.
Bad news, trip to Puerto Rico delayed. Good news, awesome contacts with some corporations. I can't release names just quite yet, but coming soon to get our medical personnel supplies and yours truly to hospital in Puerto Rico and back. They're in need of money, diapers, insulin, diapers, infants and adults, IV kits, solar, anything, iPads, laptops, website gurus, database. And remember, these people are literally associated with Hollywood, politicians, and billionaires. But who are they getting the money to go and do all this stuff? The American people. That's who. Protecting the sacred.
Yeah.
Donate the relief efforts to protecting the sacred. That sounds like Standing Rock stuff.
It does.
Once again. And next, I'll show you that Victory Lundquist was also coordinating Texas relief efforts. And she activates the keyboard warriors. Hey, are those the same keyboard warriors that Mike Fassig, the father of the rapist Derek Fassig, the guy that's trying to cover up his son's crime on platforms of Activate Now, is that the keyboard warriors you want to activate?
Maybe.
Here's her in Florida. She's raising stuff in Florida. Florida residents, Immokalee Activate Tour. So notice who she's with, folks, just to bring it whole circle. She's with Ed Higgins.
Wow.
Wes is with Ed Higgins. Everyday Hero Project is with Ed Higgins. All of them were, always knew about it, were hiding and dissembling this fact. So what? So you could get a payoff? So you could get a check? You lied and hurt people and committed crimes for money. I think it's just one of the most despicable things you could possibly do. And still covering it up. Chase Lion Eyes. That man is also somebody that sold out his own people. And I guess money is more important to y'all than making sure that the right people are getting the help that they deserve. But you know what? That's why I am talking about holding people accountable today. And let me say that when I had this conversation with Victoria Dargan that you're about to listen to, I pushed back. I said, I believe survivors She did some of the rape apology things that you heard at the Kavanaugh hearings, that you've heard rape apologists across America repeat ad nauseum during this Me Too movement and during the Kavanaugh hearings. And I didn't let her get away with it. I held her accountable as a friend. I said, and I hope she doesn't mind me playing this because we ended things on a very good note. It reminded me of the division and anger and lack of trust between Republicans and Democrats in this country that ended with Senator Flake being stopped, cold, cornered, literally inside of an elevator while two women tearfully, almost screaming and crying, begged him to look at me. Tell me you're not going to go in there and tell women they don't matter, that you don't believe them, and telling him their story of sexual assault and rape. And in moments after that, you saw an agonized Jeff Flake get up, walk across the room, and tap his Democratic friend, Senator Chris Coons, on the shoulder and said, "Come here. Let us talk. Let us speak to each other across the aisle. Let us hold each other accountable to that friendship and let us listen to each other." And I'm sure that it wasn't just a friendly conversation. I'm sure it got heated in that back room where all of those senators disappeared into one by one to come up with a compromise that ended with a request for an additional week to give the FBI an opportunity to investigate the credible threats, the credible allegations against Brett Kavanaugh. And it was in that same spirit that I held Victoria Dargan accountable in this call. And I said to her, this is wrong. What was done to the survivors and the people that these men hurt is wrong. And as a woman and a survivor myself, as the mother of a survivor, I'm going to talk to you about this, Victoria Dargan. I'm going to hold you accountable as my friend and have this difficult conversation, and shared the pain of other people. And you can hear it in her voice. At first, some rape apology tendencies, and then some feelings of misgiving and maybe even a little anger or concern that I am, trying to make her accountable and shaming her in some ways for the fact that when I sent her those messages, those text messages nearly a year prior, she refused to listen and went ahead and hosted this guy, and then went ahead and posted about all the great stuff he's going to go do somewhere else, probably giving agency to all of the people on her friends list to donate to that guy. Mm-hmm. And possibly if he shows up anywhere that they were or are in this country or in any other one, to let him into their homes and allow him to steal, lie, and assault people again and again and again. And I am happy to say she got it. I never intended to play this because of how it ended. But now it feels like I need to use it as a teaching tool and let you listen to what one of those hard conversations sounds like, what it could be like if we held each other accountable and said no. And you're going to hear her talk about what really transpired. Now, of course, she's talking with 2020 hindsight, nearly a year after she hosted these folks in her house, right? This is right after the recent conviction of Derek Fassig, the guy that kidnapped and raped Lacey Jean Williams, Mulaney's foster kid. And in this phone call, she spills the beans about how uncomfortable it really was to have them there. And she tells us some things about Mona. Once again, in the beginning of this call, she was more rape apology enabler style and kind of defensive and kind of defending the accused, in this case Ed Higgins. And she was saying some disparaging things about his victims, including Mona. I think by the end of the call, things had taken a very, very different turn. You'll hear it in her voice. You'll hear it in, I took the time to really tell her very honestly what I thought of my first contact with her and why I didn't continue to update her further, including and up to the accusations against him with regard to the Lacey Jean Williams rape and kidnapping. And I said it very earnestly, I didn't think you were going to listen. So I hope, because we still have this decision on the Kavanaugh, ascension to the Supreme Court less than a week away.
Yeah.
And my heart aches for all Americans, but especially for people that are marginalized and women, because of what we stand to lose if we pick the wrong person for not just a little while, or the next 6 years, or the next 4 years, or 2 in the case of Trump, but for a lifetime. And I think, Kavanaugh is one of the youngest nominees, if he were to get on the Supreme Court, that I have ever seen in my lifetime. So he could be around for a numbingly long time, even far beyond our deaths, Duke.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to look at the possibility of what's about to happen, and as a country do better, as individuals do better, as neighbors, as friends do better. Don't go along with supporting a kidnapper or a rapist. Certainly don't put them near vulnerable people. That's disgusting. I mean, that's dangerous. How could you, in good conscience, do something like that and hold your friends and your neighbors accountable if they're doing things like this and giving agencies to these criminals, to these frauds? We have to have these difficult conversations, and we have to have them now. And that is why I'm going to share this painful conversation between two friends for you to hear today. This is my interview with Victoria Dargan from April of this year. Hello.
Hi, Cindy.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, but I think you have some very poor information.
About what exactly?
They were stranded in the same city where I live. I invited them. They stayed for the hurricane, then left, and that is all the contact I ever had.
Well, actually,
so if you're insinuating that
actually they were in Houston.
Was prearranged.
Actually, they were in Houston prior
Correct.
to that. And so they had announced publicly in live streams and in press information that they were going to be in Houston during hurricane relief, and then they abruptly left to head into another hurricane location which was imminent, that hadn't hit yet. So saying they were stranded would indicate they were already there, and all of a sudden a hurricane hit and they had nowhere to go. They weren't like caught in a situation where they didn't know and they were stranded would indicate they were in agency.
Bradenton, heading to Miami, and the hurricane shifted and was coming to the Gulf side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I reached out to them, because I knew they were within about 5 miles of where I lived, and their hotel had shut down, closed. So I have no information as far as, all I know is that they were here and they're on their way to Miami, could not go further.
Well,
So I housed them for
the reason
the
I
2 nights.
sent you that post, the reason I sent you the message originally, was because a number of people that were assaulted or defrauded or in some way harmed by Ed and his team, or anyone on his team, they were following his activities and saw that he was going to your house, and that you had posted a promotional video of his saying, these are water protectors, they need help, please.
I didn't post anything like that. I posted a picture that they stayed there. I did not post any promotional stuff. So you're very mistaken on that. I posted that I was grateful to be able to help out somebody who had helped out my kid. And that was it.
Okay.
No fundraising for them, not whatsoever. So you're very misinformed on that.
Well, I didn't say you were fundraising. I said you posted something promoting their work.
No, I just posted that I was able to help them out. Well, they stayed at my place. I was returning the favor for what they took care of. He helped out with my son.
Okay, so
and one other guy.
to me and to all of the people that were upset by him being promoted by your post, that saw it and that noticed that you were friends with me, that sent it to me, it seemed like a promotional post. So they said, why are you friends with this person promoting Ed? And I said, oh, I don't think she knows anything about this guy, because I don't think that Victoria would promote or support or help someone that is raped someone and that is implicated in all of these allegations of fraud and abuse against people in this area and throughout the country. And so I will let her know. I will let her know immediately so that she can avail herself of whatever safety precautions she needs to take, so as not to endanger herself or implicate herself in supporting someone that is there that could possibly hurt other people, which he did do while he was there at your house. So
he was not. No, he didn't. He was there for two. They were there for 2 nights. Him and Mona were here for 2 nights, and then they went on their way. So wherever you're getting that from, it just.
There were people that were with him on his staff that have posted videos talking about how he was being abusive to them.
No, well, he was here for September 11th and 10th, and then they left.
And
so that's it.
They parted.
That's all the contact I had.
He parted ways with Mona Cedillo, one of the people that was there with you guys. You might remember her, the Mexican lady.
Yeah, no, they left.
And they parted ways right after they left there because of what he was doing to her. She just posted a video that has gone viral all over the internet with Lissa Yellowbird Chase from our community denouncing what he did to her, that he stalked her, that he abused her, that, the kinds of things I was reporting to you at the time that he was doing. He was doing it to one of the people on the staff that was with you.
Mona was the only female here. Mona was the only female here.
Mona was the only female? Yeah.
So who, besides, and well, I know that he's stalking her and she's stalking him now, and it's just like, whatever. I'm just completely out of it. But, during the 2 days that they were here, they didn't have any contact with anybody else. So I don't know how, the hurricane was here.
I know. That's what I was conveying to you, the danger that people were telling me about, that they had shared evidence with me about, so that you would be alerted to how he might be hurting others. And then she just posted this video. Lissa helped her post this video because they have attacked her platform, so she can't post from her platform. And the other victim of Ed's, the rape victim of Ed's that I mentioned to you in the message I sent to you originally, she wanted to know how many people I had told about personally that had connections to him, to warn them. And so I was sending her that information. because, a lot of the folks that I reported on this, geez, it was a year ago. And I sent that information around to a lot of people, and because these men continued to have agency and support, they went on to commit more crimes, the latest of which is the rape, kidnapping, and torture of Lacey Jean Williams.
Where did that happen at?
In Minneapolis, and the High Plains Reader covered it too, besides us. But it's probably all over now because he's been convicted, which has prompted a lot of people to ask questions about why nobody stopped these folks before. Why were they continuing to get support and help and money when people were being warned that they were committing crimes and that they were hurting women in the movement specifically? And the most egregious thing about it that really bothered people was that they had set themselves up as heroes of Standing Rock, so a lot of people really trusted them. And they were actually predating on people. The people that he was...
all I can say, it was the hurricane. I saw that they were in town. I didn't know any of the other stuff. I'd heard rumors, but it was like I was returning a favor because he helped my son. They got Jameson out of him and Tim Schwartz. So that's how I am. I helped somebody out who helped my family out. They were here. They stayed over. They passed the hurricane at my place, him and Mona. And then they were off. Then they went down south. And frankly, I was quite disappointed. It was obvious that I was like, you guys aren't really helping anybody. You're just taking pictures. And, it's like, whatever. Okay, I'm glad that's over with. I did my due diligence or whatever, my return to favor. It's done. That debt's paid, so to speak. And from there on, I just kind of watch everything. It's like, oh, fuck. What a freaking
I know,
mess.
it's been very depressing for the victims, you see.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing whatever I can. I know you just want to help someone that helped you out.
Yeah.
But he happens to be a rapist that is hurting people and has defrauded and hurt a lot of people. He just got back from Puerto Rico. Reports there say he indicate that he destroyed someone's property and a vehicle and assaulted people there in Puerto Rico as well. So, for his past victims, especially those that go back like a year or longer, it has just been very frustrating to see these folks continually receive support and when told about stuff like that their reaction is like, well, I don't care, he's friends with my kids, so I'm going to help him anyway. Sorry about your rape, And I totally get it. You don't know for a fact what you believe about what he's doing or what he's not doing, so you chose just to do what you thought was the humane thing at the time and help these people out because they were stranded. But you can understand how victims feel, right?
Well, I certainly can understand that. And how do I beyond returning, favor to what was done for my son, because I reached out to them when I knew my son needed help, and they went in and got him on the second raid.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had in my mind, and all this other stuff that I watch. I have not in front of them just because it's like such a freaking soap opera, but I should. I just watch it, but I'm not involved in the movement. I'm not, or anything like that, and so I don't know these other players. And Jameson really has no contact with them either, So he's staying down here right now with me for a couple weeks, but he's out for the evening. Otherwise, I'd ask him about these other names because I don't know any of them.
It's not just one person from his staff that is being looked at. it seems that a number of the people that he had as correspondents, had extensive criminal histories, were involved in criminal activities, were predating on women, were defrauding people, were committing rapes, etc. It's rather extensive. I didn't really feel the need to go into all the detail of everything because you seemed kind of like nonplussed when I sent you the message, and just like,
I had no issue. Mona was there. They were fighting over something else and ended up with the breakup then. But I was just like, okay, well, like I said, they're out the door, and I've repaid a debt, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
And I just kind of watched everything blow up after that. So, but the reason I called you, I have no other personal knowledge of any of the things that he's being accused of. Do I doubt if they're true or not? How do I put it? I don't know these people. That's all there is to it. So it's like, I'm not going to, and I don't have a part in that whole situation. I was repaying a debt on behalf of my son, and that was it. And I'm glad that was done. And to watch all this other stuff, it's like, even more so glad it's done. So,
yeah.
I don't know, I assume the victims have made their police reports and they're going through all their.
I would never ask a victim that. That's.
If they want, that's what they chose to do.
Well,
I don't want to be dry. I can't.
What a victim does before or after they are raped is not up for debate, because that would be rape apologizing, and I don't. I don't.
I'm sorry, I don't quite like that. I'm saying.
My daughter was sexually assaulted, and I did file a police report and get a conviction, and had my own child hate me for, and most of my family, for going through with it. So I would never demand from a victim that they go put themselves through the hell I put my child and my family through, for the slight possibility that they will even prosecute, and an even slighter possibility that that person will get any kind of fair judgment against them and a conviction. I think about Brock Turner, the guy that raped that girl.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And he got a walk, and how many others have we seen lately? To tell a woman that her rape allegations aren't valid unless a police report, and how many rape kits are sitting in multiple states, locker rooms that never get tested.
What I'm trying to say is that I don't know any of these people. I don't have any part of that, and I'm sorry. I meant no harm trying to help them out stranded. It was my only thing that I thought about was, here's a chance to repay a debt, give a thank you, and help somebody out that helped when I reached out to a stranger, because I didn't know who they. All I knew was that they could connect to Jameson and get him out of there. And as a mom, I reached out to them. And this was before any of this other information was out. So I don't want to be beyond that. All I see is what people argue about on Facebook and stuff. And so, I just don't want. I have nothing to offer other than I had no issue. I did not feel unsafe when he was here. I was glad they were gone. I was glad, like I said, I was just, okay, this is done. And I was disappointed. I was like, you guys aren't really helping anybody. What are you doing? That was my gut.
Well, what they're doing is predating on people and participating in crimes, as I tried to warn you about, and wherever they have gone, they have left trauma and peril in their wake. You are one of the luckier people. He didn't trash your house and sell your furniture and destroy your car, But he has done that to other unsuspecting women after you were warned about him. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people like yourself, unsuspecting or even with knowledge, continue to help this man and give him support and money and housing wherever he showed up. And so he continued to commit crimes and hurt people. And, you know, once he's gone from your town, whatever mess he left in the wake of that isn't his problem anymore, or his cohorts. He just moves on to the next community and then has to leave there and moves on to the next community, and it's just been like that. And what the people that are his victims are trying to do is to track that indifference, to track the fact that these people have been doing this in multiple places, and for his victims to be able to come together and say, enough is enough. If we've learned anything from this Me Too movement, it's that we, as women especially, have got to say no to rapists, no to predators. Even if they're your uncle, even if they're your neighbor, even if they're, you know, somebody that you respect or somebody in authority, because ignoring that is what continues to create this cycle of abuse for these women.
No, and I absolutely agree. I have nothing to give that would what's the word? I have no evidence or information to give, because the short time that they were here, I had no problem. So, you know, obviously there's many others who have had lots of problems with them, and so I'm just saying I don't want to be dragged. There's nothing I have to offer for additional information or evidence or anything like that, because they were here very briefly. They weren't even in Florida that long. I'm not sure who he was stalking. There wasn't going on when he was at the
according to Mona,
48 hours.
According to Mona, he was abusing her.
Well,
over the period of time that they were there.
Yeah.
That's what she's
saying.
That
would be true. And that would be true. And that's why she left. So, but you're saying that he was stalking somebody else. I don't have knowledge of that. I just have knowledge of some of their fighting, and that, she had to get out.
On his trips to do hurricane relief, there are reports from people saying that he said they were going to help specific individuals, and they did nothing for them, and they posted that their information and names, used the victims of hurricanes' names to raise money for those specific hurricane victims, and then pocketed the money and never helped them.
That may well be. That wasn't. They were, like I said, during the hurricane itself, they were at my place, and then they moved on. So what they did after that, like I said, well, they stopped back, and then they went down to Fort Myers, but they were there for like 12 hours was it.
At the same time that
basically they turned around and came back. And that could be that they, because they said they were going down there to help somebody do stuff, and I thought it was pretty lame. Why are they already done down there? They didn't have time to do shit. But and then Mona made it clear that
At the same time that I was sending you that message, people were watching where he was in Florida, and of course, since they were posting videos of themselves at the beach and pictures and things like that you were in, people were looking up all of that information, and I had multiple people call me and say the following. Did you know that Ed is in Florida? Did you know that he's at the house of one of his correspondent's parents? And she's your friend on Facebook. Did you know that she's promoting his work, saying they're doing great work, help these people? And she posted a video, and they're staying at her house. And I was like, what? Who? And I didn't even know your son. So I was like, James Dargan was at Standing Rock? And then they're like, oh yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on her page and on his page about his involvement in Standing Rock, and it was a pretty big involvement. I mean, he was the last man standing. And I was like, oh shoot, I guess I missed this. I didn't even see it. Her son is one of the first correspondents that he had, pretty much. So
he didn't really do anything for them. So.
So anyway, but he was listed in various publications and things associated with Ed and Activate Now. That's what they're alluding to. I mean, they don't have some disclaimer from his mom telling them, oh, he really doesn't have very much to do with Ed and doesn't really know them, and he's just listing this as a job title or whatever. But
I think initially he thought he was going to do some work for them, but it never came about. But. So.
But it's kind of like when you leave something on your LinkedIn or on your resume, people might still assume you're doing it if you put it on there, right? And so they're like, how do you know this woman? And what do you know about these people that are working with this criminal? And I'm like, well, I don't really know. I didn't even know what Victoria's kids were. And Victoria's my friend on Facebook, and I don't know that she's associated with anything bad. Like, I don't necessarily think that James is part of this cabal of bad people working for Ed and this false defunct media organization. But I will warn his mom, and I'm sure that she's going to distance herself from this dude, because I don't think she wants any of this kind of association for herself or for her son, And when you responded that you felt safe and, basically you didn't really care to hear anything more about it, I didn't bother telling you anything further because you made it pretty clear you didn't care. And it seemed like regardless of what I told you, you were going to still support this guy, so I didn't feel the need to tell you oh, well, there's all this other stuff. Does that change your mind? Do you feel like you need to maybe tell him to leave your house and say, I don't have anything to do with this guy accused of rape and all these other crimes. Neither does my son. And I left it at that. Figured, hey, if she finds out down the road that this guy is somebody that she wants to disassociate or publicly denounce on her own, then maybe she will. Which is why when he posted a video of himself drunk driving with Miko Hayes and stalking Mona, I followed that video up, our conversation up with that video for you to be able to see him in action. Because
I saw it when it got posted. So
I figured that maybe that would convince you that he was dangerous.
Yeah, but I don't have any contact with them, so I don't associate with them. Like I said, it was that short time when they were here. The hurricane shifted over to the Gulf side where I was in.
Well, I think that the scrutiny for any of the people that were correspondents of his and people that supported those correspondents is what people are looking at, because it seems that, as I said, a number of people that he worked with have also, as correspondents, have also been accused of stealing from people, raping people, assaulting women, committing fraud, torturing people, kidnapping people. And they even created a page exposing Ed and one of his correspondents. But there's many other people that he's been closely associated with that he's had on his platform that have had those same allegations leveled against them. So I think that's why people are looking more closely at these people and saying, okay, enough rapes, enough crimes. We're going to denounce these people publicly and warn the public so that more folks don't end up in this situation. So there have been a number of people that were very foundational leaders at Standing Rock that have called out for water protectors and anybody out there who, stood with the people of Standing Rock to publicly denounce and remove these people from their circles, or remove them from their circles. They're like, if you have any association with this person or have them as your friend on Facebook, delete me now. Among them were Angelo Sison, and the Lissa Yellowbird Chase, Winia Locke, and Joy Braun. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those people, but they're, Winia Locke, especially, and Joy Braun of the Indigenous Environmental Network, were very instrumental in the formation of the camps and the news that was coming out of there as well. So,
I'll have to look and see. Joy Braun, the name is familiar. I mean, because several people friended me after, my son's video went viral and his last stand and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, some I accepted Facebook, requests from, and some I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it's not. I have to look through my friends list. I'm not sure. Most of them I don't follow at all. I mean, I just haven't unfriended them. I unfollowed most everybody.
Yeah.
I haven't unfriended people.
Well, I met so many different people at Standing Rock and interviewed such a wide variety of people. I probably have all sorts of unsavory types on my feed, but I guess that's what happens when you're working in the media. You end up having just a bajillion contacts.
Mm-hmm. And half of them are fake. I mean, I got several fake friend requests, and I knew it was just to try to spy on Jameson.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that was, I had to go through their pages, and no, that's a fake one, you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And some ones that I felt seemed very genuine for the cause, I accepted friendships from. So, and I know he's not, I mean, so that was
well, I just wanted
par
to
for the course.
I just wanted to turn over that information to her, because she just created a page, and she has been doing live streams and posts about the ongoing attacks from the people in Ed's camp directed at her, because part of the campaign to defend Ed and other people associated with this rape, kidnapping, the latest one, they have simultaneously tried to exonerate him on the current allegations and to discredit Missy and my reporting of Missy's story from the past, because there was a previous allegation, and for the most part people just ignored it and went on about their lives. And this has made her very distraught, because it's kind of ripped open a sore again for her. Here it is a year later, and now because of these allegations, well, these aren't allegations. The guy was convicted, and there's ample evidence that Ed, and I've showed it on my shows, there's videos he made where he was trying to cover up for Mike, and with Mike trying to cover up for Derek's crime. And it was also read into the court transcript what their involvement was. And so his father's, the guy that works with Ed, his involvement, Aubrey Peckham, another one of Ed's correspondents, and how they aided in the kidnapping. And then, of course, Ed used his platform to try to re-victimize the rape victim, to discredit her, and to cover up the crime committed by his correspondents. So that's how that involvement happened, and he documented everything. He's since deleted it, but I have all of the videos. And so I put them on my show so that people could see how he tried to cover up that crime with Mike. And there's ample evidence of Mike trying to cover up his crime too, because he posted a video. He posted a hostage video of this girl where he forced her to make a video saying that she wasn't being raped and kidnapped because the police were being sent to their home. And he was trying to make that stop somehow by making this video, but then he instantly deleted the video, which we also have, in which he makes admissions of there being some kind of altercation between him and his son. Allegations which came up during the trial about him kidnapping this girl and holding her against her will with weapons, raping her at knife point, and torturing her. And so this was all going on while correspondents of Ed were in the house aware and not helping to release her, so participating in the kidnapping.
What was the time frame on that?
On the kidnapping?
Mm-hmm.
It was after the camps closed. I want to say...
When did the conviction happen?
2 weeks ago?
Okay.
You know how courts are. Takes forever to take something to trial.
Yeah.
And none of the people in Ed Higgins' organization, including Ed Higgins, came forward to, give their statements about their involvement, so that this rapist could get the full charges that he deserved. But if they had put him to trial, he could have been facing up to 30 years. So he took a plea bargain, but in part of that plea bargain agreement was that he had to confess to all of the things that he did to Lacey, including raping her at knife point, slashing the tires on the vehicle of his father so that they couldn't take her back, assaulting his father so that they couldn't take her back.
What city was that in?
Minneapolis?
Minneapolis?
Mm-hmm. So it would be Ramsey County, if you want to look up the charges.
Yeah. Mike Bozick?
No, Derek is his son.
Okay. I can access it from my... here.
Mike and Aubrey were there and did nothing to help her. They were aware of the situation and they let it continue. It would be the equivalent of knowing that Ed was torturing and raping Mona at your house and not saying anything to anybody. That's basically what these people did. And then after the fact, Ed tried to do a live stream with Mike in which he wanted to turn Mike into some kind of a hero for his role in eventually getting Lacey the hell out of there right before the cops showed up with SWAT teams and raided his house. But he was probably hoping to avoid that by getting her out of there, So he did what he had to do, and then after the fact, he erased all the evidence of his complicity in it, and then started telling a completely different story where he was defending his son, saying that he did not believe that Lacey had been raped or tortured, and even implicating himself by saying that he was with her for 3 of the days that she was at his house, and he saw no evidence of any kind of abuse. And actually, he noticed that she refused to leave. So, she wanted to be there. Whatever she's claiming happened was, consensual on her part. So he did this really disgusting rape apologist shit, and then Ed and all of their group of people disseminated this information and just trying to discredit using their platform once again, and their status as correspondents, in a disgusting display of media propaganda against the victim of their group. Not just Derek, but of their group of media people. It was really a disgusting stunt. And so now, they're being called down on it because it has been proven that this did happen and they were all complicit in trying to cover it up. And then, of course, obviously, now that these allegations against this group of people have been conclusively proven true, Mona has come out and done a video saying that she knows this behavior to be true from Ed because he did this, and this to her. Have you seen that video?
No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm. And he is with one of the women. Mona is with one of the women who were at the trial that heard all of the evidence against Mike Bassig and all these Activate Now people. So she calls him out as well. And, that video went all over the internet. And more victims are coming out and saying, hell, I was talking about this a long time ago. And here's what I did.
Well, hopefully their days are numbered.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Definitely.
We'll keep an eye out because there probably will be more information about them. I believe Ed is doing a live stream right now, promoting whatever the hell he's doing today. He's keeping on.
If I see something, I scroll past it, and I'm not. It's like.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of people that really don't, especially like people like my parents. They don't really spend much time on social media.
Well, I spend a lot of time on social media. I just ignore their stuff.
Oh.
I mean, if it even shows up in my live feed, because it's. It's like I said. It's just. I don't want to say it's not. It's not. How do I put this? I mean, I wasn't in the movement. I wasn't, except for my son and his experience there, and the changes it's made for him, and the things that he wants is trying to do going forward, and different projects and stuff. So, so that's why I stay somewhat. I watch some. And stay. Haven't unfriended people. I mean, there's several women that friended me, and based on what my son, accomplished and was able to do out there. He's got his court stuff coming up, so he's down here right now for a couple weeks, and then he'll be up to Bismarck for his first hearing, for his first arrest in early May, and he's got the second arrest in June, that trial.
Wow.
So.
Did he get help from the WPLC, or does he not have an attorney?
He's got the legal collective people, and then there's a public defender, but he's coming out of California, or a group of them that were arrested. It was a January 23rd or 24th arrest. Mm-hmm. A bunch of them got arrested, and then I think the same attorney's going to be doing his one in June also.
Wow.
So.
Well, it's a good thing that they were able to get support, because there's some people that have had a really hard time getting support from them, for their lawyers, for their cases.
I think he applied right away for a public defender, and then but I'm not sure how it all came together with the legal collective group doing it. I don't think he's not. He's not been real involved ahead of time in any defense, so I'm not real pleased about that, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But they just said no, that he needs to be up there, by the first week, end of March or end of April. Trial starts on May 3rd.
Wow.
So I'm not holding my breath, but it's a misdemeanor charge, so he's not too worried.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it'll be a big deal.
The
Oh,
trust-
I've got several people that are facing, 15 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a hell of a time getting any help from the WPLC.
And forgive my ignorance, WPLC is what, the Water Protectors Legal Collective?
Yes.
Okay. They're sending him gas cards to get up there for the trial. And then, I like I said, I think he's got the public defender, but I know that were able to get approved out of state attorneys, and his is out of California.
Hmm.
So
That's good.
he seems to think it's all under control. So anytime I try to get him more information, it's like, don't worry about it, Mom. I'm like, I'm Mom. I worry about it. I think the first one is government obstruction of government function,
Mm-hmm.
or a trespass. So, and then second one, when he was on the roof, I think the second one he's got the two, trespass and obstruction of government function, both misdemeanors.
Mm.
That's my understanding. So I'm assuming they'll play his video.
Yeah, but they will.
So I don't know what else. Anyway, I probably will go head up for his June one.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, I wish him luck.
He's been kind of out fighting on his own and trying to do different things. He's got great plans and a big heart and no money to do anything with it to make it happen. So it's tough. But he's got a landscaping job for the 3 weeks that he's down here, so he'll have money to get up north and make it a little bit. But anyway.
People with big dreams always manage to fulfill them,
Yeah. No, he's got a big heart. So, no, he went out there his dad had passed away November 4th. And so I went up for the funeral and stuff, and then he went to Standing Rock right after that, and then ended up staying through to the end.
Wow.
It was this time of healing, and a whole bunch of misfits all got together, and his favorite job was tending the fire overnight. He helped dig out did a lot of building, wood chopping, and stayed there many of those nights in the teepee out there in January. So, toughed it out.
Was he out there helping the veterans?
Yep. He's in some of the pictures with them.
Mm.
When they had the flags and stuff.
Is your son a veteran?
No. He held the North Dakota flag, but he stood kind of back. But he was there for all that.
Yeah.
That picture.
I remember that.
So.
I remember that now.
And he was.
That might be another reason why people would look at him, because the groups that Ed and those people were involved with, not just their Activate Now platform, but the veterans group, there was a lot of people there that did a lot of harm.
Yeah,
to
he
folks.
just walked with them. And there were some pictures of him with the flags and stuff, and he was in some of those with the North Dakota flag.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with the vets that went out there, with the vets that came out with Michael Awood Jr. from the Veterans
Didn't they
Center.
raise like $1 million?
Oh, way over that. Way over that.
I mean, all that.
One of my neighbors down the road I was just talking to today, Carl Keene, was nearly killed by one of the volunteers with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock in a horrible accident. He was in ICU for 18 days. He almost died. And They didn't know if he would ever walk again. It's a good thing he's walking now, but he's, in financial ruin because of them. And there's another veteran that got left with holding the bag, and now that she's getting sued. So, yeah, those folks have really hurt a lot of people. It turned out a lot. So there's several of the people that were in that group that turned out to be witnesses for the prosecution against water protectors in their cases.
Yeah, it's just so convoluted. That's why I'm just. Anyway, he didn't raise any money until when it was all over. Then he had donations coming. He was self-sufficient till then. He had a little bit of money, not much, a couple thousand that his dad had left. Was it? But so he survived those 3 months on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, people at the camp were generous too. There was a lot of donations coming in.
Yeah, they all had food and stuff, and
mm-hmm.
he ended up losing his car, and they smashed that when they towed it out of there. And
wow.
Anyway,
it's too bad. So much destruction that happened out there.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Anyway, well, thanks for visiting, and
yeah,
like
glad.
I said, I know Mona got out, and so I've been, that was there. She flew back to Denver, and Miko and Ed headed off wherever. I don't even know where they went. I think they go back to Texas right after Florida again. I don't know.
I think they parted ways then, because it was not too long after they were in Florida they went to Puerto Rico. Some of them went to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Terrence Daniels, he went down over to Miami, and then cause he did not leave with them. It was just Miko and Ed.
Yeah, because
Terrence had already gone on to Miami, and then eventually on to Puerto Rico. Ed went to Puerto Rico, I don't know, maybe a month later, I recall from posts.
Yeah, Ed helped him out there.
Pardon?
Terrence helped Ed get out to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And then he helped him get housing out there with the lady that got robbed. Terrence set that up for him. That lady is pretty upset because they took all her furniture. And she let them use her car, and they caused $5,000 worth of damage to her car. And nobody is being held responsible to reimburse her for her losses. And they said they were going to bring their own resources and even leave resources there for the people of Puerto Rico, So that was pretty upsetting, especially given the fact that so many people there desperately needed housing and water and food and resources that...
What's the story with Jana Stone?
With who?
Jana Stone?
I don't know that name.
She's still out there. She's been out there quite a bit. Mona thought she'd messaged me, and she thought that she and Ed were singing each other's praises. And Ed left right after that, and Mona thought there was something going on with that. I was like, I don't know.
No, he tends to be a charmer with women somehow. I don't know how he manages to charm them, so many of them, but
he's kind of gross.
He seems to manage to do it. I don't understand it, but it works for him, I guess.
Anyway, the other guy I follow is Nicholas Alcathy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's actually from Bradenton here. I've never met him, but he was in Puerto Rico quite a bit. Seemed to be doing a lot of stuff out there. But his work seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah. Ed's old girlfriend, Chelsea, was out there too. And then, of course, she was also implicated in a rape of Carly Hammond, along with Jordan Sheridan.
None of those names ring a bell to me. So.
Jordan Sheridan was with Truth Against the Machine, and he started. He was working with Cenk Uygur at TYT. He reported.
I'm out of the loop on that. I'm sorry.
He reported extensively on Standing Rock, and he was later dating Chelsea Lyons after Ed.
Oh, okay. Now you say Chelsea. Okay, now I've seen that name floating around. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said the last name, then it was floating around.
Chelsea Lyons Kent.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. She used to work with Ed too. On his platform. So yeah, there's just a bunch of these bad actors out there that are like, oh my god, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they not doing?
I remember I did see when Ed did one live stream, probably, I don't know, 3-4 weeks after they'd left here, and he was trying to make it clear that he's a reporter. He's not actually out volunteering. I'm like, yeah, that's not how you raise your money, though. I remember thinking that to myself. And like I said, that they came down with minimal supplies, and we're gonna go help. Oh, they went down and went to the video that they had at the beach here. It was like we were like 8 hours out from the storm hitting. There was nothing to do yet. So that wasn't even that didn't bother me at all.
Right.
I was like, might as well see what the beach looks like before the storm comes through. I didn't think anything of it. And after the storm came through, and then we're like, okay, we're heading down to Fort Myers and Naples area, which was, demolished down there. They were down there, 12, 18 hours, if that, left to get them. Like, you really couldn't have done much to help in that a short amount of time. But him and Mona were fighting, and they came back through and basically stopped and showered and were on their way. Mona got her plane trip to Denver, and Ed was begging her to stay with them, and she's like, no, I'm done.
Probably the smartest thing she could have done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Then I got really sick right after that. I got, I don't know if it was pneumonia or what, but I was down for 10 days myself.
Wow.
I was getting sick. I thought it was the sinus pressure from the hurricane coming in, because I had a migraine that Saturday, and sinus pressure Sunday, and then Monday the hurricane hit, and I was just I crashed into fevers and chills and everything. And Mona wanted me to drive her to the airport up in Tampa, and I'm just like, I can't even, because they went down, like I said, to Fort Myers and basically came right back up, within less than 24 hours. And I'm like, you guys are moving on your way. Can they just drop you there? Please just make it that last hour. Yeah. Because I couldn't. Anyway, I was like, thank God everybody's gone. Anyway, but no, like I said, it was very disappointing.
Yeah.
But,
all around, it's very disappointing.
mm-hmm. Anyway, well, I appreciate the additional information, but like I said, I don't have anything to add other than what I've said, because I don't have personal first-hand knowledge of anything on.
Sure.
I just didn't want it. I was repaying what I felt as a mother a debt, and let them stay here, during the hurricane itself, and then they left, and then they came back through and were totally gone. So that's the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
So my prayers go to your friends and the victims, and
thank you.
Hopefully, like I said, I can't believe they haven't gotten stopped at some point.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they will now.
Yeah. I did notice that he said he was doing another live stream. It seemed like some of the other water protectors, some comes through my news feed, some doesn't, but I did see a lot more activity lately, so shit's breaking loose.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I will talk to Jameson. He's out with some coworkers tonight, so
Good.
Yeah. I think he's felt kind of isolated and stuff, but no, he's getting along good with the group of guys he's working with, so, at the moment, and hopefully he'll be back after the trial stuff.
Yeah.
So, but he'll be back up there for a while. Or back and forth or whatever, so.
Not a very good reason to come home, but...
No. It's got to be done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you'll be glad once it's over.
Yeah. So, anyway. He's... Yeah, no, this is the first... I haven't even seen him since Standing Rock, so this is the first time I've gotten some time with him.
Wow.
For a year and a half.
Jeez.
So, 'cause he went off to... where did he go right after Standing Rock? He ended up in Washington, D.C., and then out in New York for a few months, and then he's been in Las Vegas. He was with the Renegade guys for a while, and that just totally blew apart. They're a bunch of assholes, too. So,
Renegade guys? Who are they?
Renegade Media.
Oh, Renegade Media.
Yeah.
Who was the leader of that? Ziegfeld, or what was his name? Something with a Z. Ziegler. Was it Ziegler? Ouch.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't even tell you the names of the guys that were in the house out there. But, anyway, he's out of that mess too, so.
Did they mistreat him?
That. Pardon?
Did they mistreat him?
They were just... He didn't, obviously he didn't have a car. He did, he wanted to get, food growth going. He's got some patents pending for some ideas on growing food, micro farming and stuff. And they had, a house that they could do things in. So that, oh yeah, sure, we'll do all this. And then wouldn't work together with him on anything. He did earn some money and paying rent, and then brought in another person that had some stuff stored, but they wouldn't credit him for any of that rent, and it was just more money issues. And
sounds like they took advantage of him.
Yeah, and he didn't have the work. He had work some of the time, and then he's had his own stupid luck on some jobs too. So it's like he's struggled for the last year and a half, but he's got a lot of great ideas, and like I said, some patents pending, and he just needs, he'll have wheels under him again. My brother is passing away from a brain tumor, and he gave us a car, so Jameson will now have a car, so that'll help him get better work and stuff now and be more mobile. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So I flew Jameson from Vegas out to North Carolina, where my brother is, and we were there 2 weekends ago, and then drove the car back. But now he'll have a car, and he'll be a little more
mobile.
He'll be able to mobile and able to get better, work, and not relying on friends and bus systems and whatever else. So
yeah.
But anyway, and like I said, he got work right away when he got down here. So
he's still really young. You'll see he'll land on his feet.
Pardon me?
I said he's still so young. You'll see he'll land on his feet.
Yeah. No, he definitely will. And his sister, of course, is quite successful in Fargo. So, yeah, she won the 2017 Photographer of the Year for High Plains Reader.
Awesome.
Or the best of the best.
Didn't they
really good.
Did they already decide those yet?
Pardon?
Did they already?
She won last year's 2017.
Oh, I was gonna say, I just saw an announcement for the best of the best voting.
Oh, okay. So it's starting up again. Yeah.
Yeah.
The awards were. Yeah, she won it last year, so. In photography.
That's awesome.
Oh, she's only 20 years old, but she works her butt off and loves what she does. So.
That's so young. Or babies.
Yeah. Well, she figured out what her talent and passion was from a young age, and so. I'm curious. Are you still with High Plains?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm.
No. Okay.
No, we're running our own radio station
Okay.
it's been 2 years and change, I think. I've lost track now. And I was doing reporting. I've been reporting on what happened at Standing Rock for the last year and a half. I'm basically nonstop. I did an investigation of a woman that was accused of committing elder abuse against her mother. She was facing 15 years in prison. And several of the witnesses that knew her to be innocent came to me to ask for help. So I started investigating the case, and that's how Ed Higgins came into the picture. Because he claimed to be there as a witness. So I interviewed him at one point, and then he threatened to sue me if I ever played his interview. And he was constantly showing up in this story that I was investigating, involved with the people that made false police reports against this woman. He was their friends, or they were working for him, or they were reporting that the people involved in putting this woman in jail, they were reporting on those people as, like these Standing Rock heroes. And then on top of that, the people that they were featuring were speaking out against Kathleen Bennett and against our station's reporting about her story. But despite all of that, eventually, in fact, Ed Higgins and Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals both put out videos claiming that the Water Protector Legal Collective was going to start a class action lawsuit against my station for my reporting on Kathleen Bennett's story, and defamation of character and libel. And I contacted one of the board members, lawyers from the National Lawyers Guild at the WPLC to ask him, and they said, not that I know of. Don't know what you're talking about. They said they were going to publicly denounce them, and they didn't make a public denouncement either. But they said they were going to. So that's how I got involved with investigating stuff about Ed, because of all of his close connections to the story. And we were able to exonerate this woman. All of her charges were dropped. We raised money to get her a lawyer. We got her mom out of the hospital, and we took her home. Duke and I drove her all the way back to Las Vegas. And
Wonderful.
she's free today. And nobody from this water protector movement that knew about this woman's innocence did anything to help her. In fact, they all tried to discredit her, claiming she did abuse her mom, and discrediting our station's reporting about her innocence. That was really crazy.
Yeah.
So I have been watching them very carefully. And then, of course, because I was reporting about how Ed Higgins was obstructing my investigation of this case and making threats against our station for reporting about this woman's innocence, his rape victim came to me and said, I have information about this guy. And she came to me with information because she used to work with Activate Now. She came to me with information about his, I don't know what you would call it. She said that he was pocketing all the money, basically, and putting it into his personal account, that they did not really have a 501c3, and there was all these problems and blah, blah, blah. So I started looking into it, and it's true. What she said was true. Plus, she provided me evidence from his own email account, as well as pictures and other documentation, interviews, voicemails, text messages, and stuff. that showed he was doing some pretty shady things even before Standing Rock. So after I reported on that, then Ed and Miko Hayes started attacking Missy and me, trying to discredit my reporting about what she said, trying to discredit my station, and trying to discredit Missy as not being a real rape victim. So it was just like, it's been constant.
Yeah.
Every time he comes back on the radar, it's not a good way. It's not in a good way. So it's just like, here he is again. Great. Now I have to revisit this topic. Okay, let's open up the can of worms again. But yeah.
That's just, like I said, Jameson, when he was out there, I mean, he truly was out there to stand for the land, and, he knew, Delray even, I shouldn't even tell you that. No, I had a way to get him out of there before that last day, and he said, no, I'm staying to the end, Mom.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He was there for all the right reasons, and he's an idealist to a fault.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too naive at times still, but
yeah.
But anyway, I'm tired.
All right, well, you have a good rest of your evening. I'm going to go make dinner.
Okay, thanks, Cindy, for chatting.
You bet. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay, everyone. I know it's been a very long show. You guys have all been very good and very patient. I wanted to first cover a couple of points that I want to clarify about what was said during this conversation between me and Victoria. One of the things I said, Carl Keene was financially ruined, is incorrect. He did have to go through Medicaid, I think, but he shouldn't have had to use his insurance to cover it. It should have been covered by the people that committed the traffic violation and went the wrong way on, against traffic during that blizzard. That should have paid for it. But I wanted to correct that point. There was a veteran that was financially ruined, and it was one of the people in the vehicle that crashed into Carl. And that person had to file for bankruptcy, as Carl reported to me. And also there was there were several other, there was a big SUV they rented. So there were several other veterans in that vehicle that had medical bills of their own. And I don't know how they were able to cover those bills for themselves. Another point of clarification that I wanted to make was that the lady in Puerto Rico was told that they were going to clean up the damage to her house, the one that Terrence helped get Ed place at. She was told that they were going to clean out her house, get rid of the damaged furniture, and then replace it with donated furniture or new furniture, which they would then leave for the homeowner in exchange for her generous offer to let them stay there. That did not happen. And in addition to that, so there was no furniture. And in addition to that, they also caused $5,000 worth of property damage, according to posts that were made by the Black Flag people, the organization. I'll be showing those in the future so you can check that out for yourself. Victoria said to me at least 3 times during that recording, I want to reiterate them, that Ed did not help anyone, that they didn't help anyone, that they didn't manage to stay anywhere long enough at any of the places they went to get anything done like they said they were going to. She also said that he advertised fundraising for the purpose of going to do disaster relief, which includes cleanup and helping folks that are stranded, and not to report. But when he arrived, he turned into just a reporter, and that's all he's there to do. So those are just like housekeeping points that I wanted to make. But I also wanted to say that, and to reiterate the reason why I played this conversation with my friend Victoria, that, you know, really doesn't have any bearing on anything anymore, because since I've talked to her, and as you heard, we ended on a very positive note. There's been a lot of things that have happened, including her son's cases being resolved. So one would think that this wouldn't have any viable reason for even being played. But I have to tell you that I was really moved when I saw a post of hers just the other day that she shared about how it felt for one of her fellow friend survivors that had shared a post with her about what she went through. And she said, this was forwarded to me by a dear fellow survivor. I think I understand now why I'm so upset about this case. She's talking here about the Kavanaugh trials. I tried to sleep last night, and all I kept thinking is, why are they trying to ram him through? Despite the majority of the country and the majority of women saying no, and please stop, and wait. And in that very question, I found the answer. It was so simple and so alarming. They are literally playing out on the national stage and in real time what it feels like to be overpowered. They won't take no for an answer. They won't listen or slow down. They won't stop. The more we say no, the more angry they get. The more we ask them to stop, the more entitled they feel. This is, I think, what is affecting me and countless other women. We are being overpowered, despite us being in the majority and asking rightfully that they stop or wait. They are saying no. And the more we beg, the more aggressively they are getting. Until finally they plan on ramming through his nomination while we are supposed to just take it. This is what is affecting me. This is, I think, what is affecting most women. This overpowering, entitled, and demanding attack on our body politic. Us, please stop. Them, no. Us, wait. Them, no. Us, stop. Them, no. Us, crying. Them, angry, yelling, ramming. This is why I am upset. And I was just really proud of that, you know, as a survivor. And, you know, you heard us talking about each other's lives, each other's children, what started out as what potentially could be seen as a contentious, uncomfortable conversation turned into two friends listening to each other. Now, you didn't get to see the conversation, the bipartisan conversation that took place in the back room of that Senate conference room with Senator Flake and Senator Coons. But I gave you a backstage pass into the hard discussion on this very difficult topic, rape, sexual assault, and the need for us, especially women, to help protect survivors and prevent future victims. She listened. I listened. We did not devolve the conversation into a yelling match, frothing at the mouth, as you saw Lindsey Graham and others do on the national television, in an entrenched and opposite corner to each other. We listened, and we did better. And I invite you, as my audience, to learn from our conversation and have these difficult conversations with your friends too. Warn women, believe survivors, share information with your friends, even if it's hard to do, and stand up to assaulters and rape apologists. It's time. It's past time. Thank you for being here with me, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to a Mexican Crossing Lines on 88.1 FM KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And when I come back to my show, I will be going to Puerto Rico and bringing you all of the information about what happened there. Thanks for being with us. Good night.
Your body's moving like a hurricane. I know your stone gon' break my vertebrae. So I tried packing all my things up until I couldn't push the urge away. You my hurricane. You got that category 5 glow, that type of curve that you could spot in other time zones. High horse riding, cause you know just what I need.